If you ever need to get into your play tray, maybe somebody put something in here other than pachinko balls and they got inside of your shooter assembly, you need to clean it out, carpet fuzz, marbles, other things. The way you do that is first you open your play field door. There is a loop about halfway up on the back, right here, and you just lift up on that loop, and when you lift up, it pops open your play field door. Then what you can do is swing it all the way open, and in this corner there is a little metal latch, and if you push down on that latch, you're then able to swing open your play tray door. And you'll want to make sure that you've emptied all the balls out of the play tray first. Here's a close-up of the shooter assembly. Here is a ball in the track. You can just pick that ball up with your fingers. Now there is a wire here. As you pull down on the flipper, that wire goes down. That wire engages with a wire here when the door is shut. So what happens, it'll pull down that wire, which pulls down a plastic part here, and a ball will drop down into that area, and as you let go, it'll pop it up and put it in the shooter lane for you. I'll go ahead and do that now. Pull down, and it popped it into my hand. It would have been putting it in the shooter lane. So you do that, you can get all the balls out of there. But if there's other stuff in here that you can't get to, carpet fuzz, this cover pops open. So you can pry it open to gain access in here and pull out anything you need to. To close it, you just push it shut and it snaps closed. Now on your machine, there is supposed to be a part back here that broke off and it was beyond repair. Luckily you don't have to have that part for your machine to work. But what that part did is when your supply tray in back was empty, it would drop down and it would block this orange lever, and so you would not be able to load balls into your shooter lane until you added balls into the back of the machine, and then it would move that part out of the way, allowing this to function. So what would happen is there's this metal weighted part here. That part would weigh down on a piece of plastic which would engage with this one here. So for anyone else watching this video, this weight here would go over that plastic arm sticking out, actually over here. Okay, now when you shut the door, you'll want to lift up on this part here. Lift and hold it up, and then close your play field door, play tray door. That way this part is above the part on the door. I'm just going to lift up, swing it closed, then I can let go and drop it down. Now you close the door on this side. You may just lift it up a little bit and just push it closed until it latches. Pull your play field door over and pinch it closed. It's got two locks, one here and one up a little bit higher. So you have a lock here. There is no key, but you don't really have to worry about it because we have your machine with legs on it, so it'll sit on a table. This was for when the machine was mounted in the wall of the pachinko parlor, and the pachinko parlor attendant would use the key to open the machine up. And when they would activate that key, it would release a latch down here, and there's also one at the top of the machine. So they would turn the key, that would release, and then they could swing open the machine from this frame, which would have been mounted in the wall, to gain access to the back. For home use, you won't need that. So here is the back of the machine. As I pull down on the flipper, you can see this vertical wire here. That is what's pulling down and engaging with the shooter assembly to load a ball into the shooter lane. When your machine is playing during normal operation, this part here, as you can see, this metal kind of hook is supposed to be above this wire. So if ever someone reaches back here and they get it on the wrong side, it won't function properly. So make sure that that's loose and on the top. It could be sometimes that when you're playing, this jackpot seesaw might tilt down and may not reset properly. So if you get a jackpot and it doesn't pay out, you should stop and check the back to see if there's any issues. First, make sure you got balls in the supply tray, and if you do, the next thing you probably want to check is this seesaw. Make sure it's in the right position. Now sometimes a ball might enter it and it might start to go down but stop, and if it does, you're just going to have to give it a little help and push it so that it tilts the rest of the way. Then it'll go through its payout cycle. This switch here is the one that does the center light on front when you get a jackpot. We test machines. We pop open the door and we drop hundreds of pachinko balls through each of the pockets very quickly. So all the levers are functioning and moving really fast. And this probably won't ever happen to you during normal home use, just shooting the balls. But I wanted to point out what happened to us. I'm taking off this cover. The balls go through here and they move these levers, and the jackpot pays out. Well, we'd done it so fast that they actually couldn't move in time, and we had a jam once in here, and there were balls jammed up back in here, and the only way to get them out was to take that cover off with 4 screws, and then this little metal arm here that's hanging down is like an L, so it's going this way and up. It's attached to a little screw here, so we had to take that screw off, pull out that wire, then all the balls came out. Now if that ever happens to you, hope it doesn't, but if it does, you have to put this back in. Don't screw that screw all the way tight. It needs to be loose so that that wire moves on that screw. Then you just put the cover back on. Now with the cover off, I'm going to drop a few balls in to get jackpots so you can see how all the levers work. And it won't play properly for a long time with the cover off. There is a wire hanging right down here that needs to lift the seesaw when it's in the wrong position. So when you put the cover back on, make sure that wire is in the groove and below the orange pin on the seesaw. Let's take a look at getting the jackpot from the top. I removed this cover here so we can see the operation. I want to do a close-up of the switches. There was that one switch earlier that we saw by the seesaw. This switch going this way covers, it's for the light that comes on when your supply tray is out of balls and stays on, but they also have it rigged up so that it'll flash when you get a jackpot. So we're going to see that switch engage. There's also a switch pointing this way. This is the one that controls the 2 outside bulbs on the top. It'll flash. So these levers basically move when you get a jackpot to cause those 2 switches. So you want to make sure that the switches, the arm of the switch is below the bars that it's pulling down. Well, it's below the bar here. It's actually above the bar for this other switch. So here is one of the bells that the balls hit as they drop down. They hit a bell here and the bell here, and then they come out and they drop down and they go over here into your play tray out front. Now you can see some balls backing up here. So this is what I was talking about. If balls start to back up far enough, they'll back up, and there's actually a weighted arm here. They'll push that weighted arm over, and when they push that arm over, it's going to move some linkage behind here. And you see this vertical bar here, it'll move that as well, which cuts off the blue part in front. Let's get a bunch of jackpots. Okay, so you saw that that arm got pushed over to the side. I'll show you that from the front. So here's that blue arm in front blocking the lane. So if we shoot, the balls are just hitting that and rolling back to your play tray. Now we'll empty all the balls out of the play tray by sliding this lever over. They'll go down here, we'll scoop all them out into the bucket. Now you still have a few balls in the shooter lane. You could open up all the doors and take them out the way we saw earlier. But what I like to do is I'll just pull down partly and the ball will just roll up a little ways on the ramp and then roll back down. Okay, we got all the balls out of the front. Now let's take the balls out of the back, because you never want to lay down your machine with balls in it or transport it, because they can get into areas and cause jams. So we're going to push up on this lever, and when we do, it'll unlock this arm and all the balls will start to roll out, and they'll roll down this chute and around and then out through here. Okay, the ball's all rolled out, but we're just going to check this top tray. Sometimes some balls will get some balls will get stuck up there and you just have to knock them out. Okay, so we did that. Now we'll go ahead and lock it back in place. Okay, that's got all the balls out of the machine. Thank you so much. We sure hope you enjoy it.